Don't move to the Philippines until you answer these questions. Let's find out what they are. So I talked to a lot of you that are considering moving over here to the Philippines, and a lot of you wish you could be here today, but you're just trying to figure out finances or where to live, different things like that. For me, after living here for a while, I think it's really important to think through different categories of the Philippines, because it really is a choose your own adventure type of situation where, depending on how you answer certain questions, you could wind up with a very different life over here in the Philippines. So, what are these magical questions? The first one is big city versus province. So in the Philippines, when you talk about province area, we're really talking about a smaller country town or a smaller area, not super populated. The infrastructure might not be so built up. It might take a bit of travel to get to a mall or other things like that. Province life here is really part of the Philippines culture. So many people were born in smaller province areas, and then they find their way to the bigger cities, either to go to university or to look for work. Oftentimes there's people that have left their family behind in the province, maybe even parents are taking care of kids, and they're here in the big city, somewhere like Cebu City, Manila, wherever it might be, just to be able to get ahead in life, make a better living, and send some money back to help their family pay the bills in the province. So if you're living in the province here, it's really a different life. Economically, people normally aren't going to be making as much. If you're thinking about going out to a restaurant or doing something for entertainment, your choices are going to be a lot limited. If you move to a big city, on the other hand, it's totally different. There's so many opportunities for whatever you might want to do. There's a lot more options for where you're going to go out. There's going to be a lot more people. The pace of life is going to be quicker, and you're going to really have a more busy life. So I think when it comes to this thought of where will you live in the Philippines, you really got to think about what type of life do you want to be. For me, I'd be a little bit bored in the province, but so many Filipinos really love going back to the province. If they're in the city, life just feels like it slows down. There's not so much stress. Actually, during the pandemic, so many people, even working in the cities, just went back to the province because it was just cheaper to live there on family land. Life was just easier, less stressful. I think they felt a bit safer, and they really were able to lower expenses just by not living in the city. So it really comes down to what type of person you are. Are you someone that likes a lot more options in life? Do you like more people around you? Do you like greater selections for whatever you might want? Or do you like chilling out, having a relaxing life, not having too many people around you, not having to deal with traffic and other things like that? If so, then you might want to consider a province area. Next question you have to answer is big budget versus small budget. If you look on YouTube, you're gonna find a lot of budget videos about living in the Philippines. Some of them are gonna talk about foreigners living here for 500 or less US dollars a month. Can you do that in the Philippines? Really? Really? Yeah, really. You can do that. There's people that are living here even less than that, but you gotta realize that you're gonna be living very simply, you're gonna be eating very simply, you're gonna have just a really simple life where you're really living like other people in province areas in the Philippines live. But I gotta say, even in the city, it's amazing. You could find places for 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 pesos a month, which is like 60, 80, $100 a month. But I'm telling you, it's gonna be a pretty simple place. Most foreigners would probably feel like, I want a bit more for my living accommodation to that, but it's there if you want that. It's gonna mean that you're eating food that locals would eat. You're not gonna be eating out at, McDonald's or fancy restaurants. You're just gonna really be eating pretty simple foods. But if you want a small budget, the Philippines is definitely a place that you could live. Now, for me, I would recommend for most foreigners that they're considering of making at least $2,000 a month. I think even for $1,500 a month, US dollars I'm talking about, you can make it over here okay. So you could be living, for example, in a condo, maybe rent it out for $500 a month, have about $1,000 left over for food, a little bit of entertainment. Really, you could live over here pretty well on about 1,500 bucks. For me, I would say 2,000 is something that I would recommend shooting for, especially just in case you want to do a bit more than you thought you did. If you're able to make 3,000 or more a month living over here, even better. So it really depends on what kind of lifestyle that you want living over here. Only you can answer that. How simply do you want to live when it comes to budget? I'd say bare bones, if you're really trying to just count every single centavo, which is even less than a peso, that you could live over here for 500 bucks a month. But I would recommend shoot just a bit higher, enjoy life, and not stress too much about money. Next big question that you need to ask when you're over here is retirement versus work. So most of the expats that come over here are people that choose to just retire. And when I see discussions of expats on forums, they'll be like, why would I want to start a business? Why would I want to work? I'm retired. The last thing I want to do in the Philippines is work. And so for a lot of guys, they got, their retirement coming in or a bit of income coming in from this or that. And on a pretty reasonable budget, they're able to live well over here in the Philippines. So it's not even a question for them. They just know retirement is what they want. Still other people here, either because they're a little bit younger and they still got to make some money for a number of years, or because they just know they would be bored if they weren't doing anything, will choose to get a bit of work over here. So I think those type of things work themselves out pretty easy. People are gonna know, am I the kind of person that's just happy retiring, not, doing anything from day to day, or am I somebody that, whether I'm retired or not, needs something to pay the bills or to keep me a bit active? So once you make up that decision, the next question is really, am I going to try to work for another business, or am I going to start a business of my own? Now, often when people think about that, they'll say it is impossible to get a job at a Philippines company over here, or it's so difficult to start a business here, and they'll feel a bit frustrated. And all the time I'll see people asking questions about this on expat forums on Facebook, and they'll say, I'm thinking about starting a business in the Philippines, and then inevitably there'll be 100 negative comments about how it's a stupid idea. Other people will say, I'm thinking about getting a job in the Philippines. Do you have any recommendations? They'll get another 100 negative comments saying you can never find a job here in the Philippines. Both are not true at all. I know expats over here that they're working for Philippines companies and they're making it just fine over here and enjoy working with Filipinos. They have a regular 9-to-5 kind of job. That is possible here. Is there a million jobs like that? No, there's not. So the truth is that it's going to take a bit of work, but it's absolutely possible to find that. So other people are going to say, I think I want to start up my own business. I've had a business before, or, the cost of entry is lower in the Philippines, so I want to try opening up a business there. Also very possible in the Philippines. Now, is it easy to start a business in the Philippines? It's not easy to start a business anywhere. Business is also hard work and it brings a lot of uncertainty. However, I think there's enormous possibilities for starting a business in the Philippines, and I've talked a lot about what that would look like in different videos on this channel. So it really depends. Do you want the stability of a job, or do you want the options of creating a business of your own? No matter which way you choose, there are options, but make sure you go out of your way to weigh the pros and cons and really get good advice about what each one of those would entail. As always, I'm always here to answer questions about both of those things if you ever have any. Another question that is worth thinking through before coming over here is single or dating? And I find that so many guys, the main reason they come over here is because they're looking for a Filipina, and hey, this is a great place to find a partner. So definitely you have chosen wisely. However, I often see guys jumping in so quickly here before they even have met somebody in person. And I think it's so important to not get ahead of yourself there, but make sure that if you meet someone before you come over here, that you're really gonna take a long time to get to know them in person. Date, get to know other people when you're here. Culturally, things appear quite wonderful, but when you really spend some time over here, you're gonna see that the Philippines is like an onion. There are many layers once you get to know the people here and the culture here, and so give yourself time, slow your roll, and really get to know a variety of people and really learn from them, see what their culture's like, see what they're like over time, because looks are deceptive in the Philippines. Everything seems perfect. Truly, when I first came to the Philippines, I thought, this is what heaven must be like. People are so sweet and kind and caring, and just didn't see any of the toxicity and other drama and stress of living in somewhere like the US. However, it is here. You just gotta peel the layers of that onion, and what you'll find in my experience is that it is way better than living in a Western country. It's definitely not nearly as toxic or stressful, but there is challenges here. Whenever you put people together from any culture, even such wonderful people like Filipinos, you're gonna still wind up with some stresses, and so take your time, especially when dating and getting to know other people, or before you would ever consider getting into any kind of business relationship with somebody. Take your time and thank me later. Another question we're thinking through before you come over here is, do you want a simple life or a complex life? Now, a lot of people that are living a retired life here are living a pretty simple life. They wake up, maybe they're living by the ocean or mountains or in the city. They're enjoying their cup of coffee in the morning, thinking about what are they gonna do for the day, and life is good. And I meet so many people here that are retired that are so happy with their life, and they're so glad that they moved to the Philippines. On the other hand, there's people, dummies like me, that move over here and their life is super complex. And for me, that's because I'm running multiple businesses, juggling employees, juggling clients in multiple different countries. I have a lot of moving pieces to my life, working long hours, and life is pretty much every bit as complex as it was living in San Francisco, running a business there. However, with all the complexity, it is still so much more enjoyable, so much less stress-free for me over here, even if there is still a lot of stress. So I would say really think through, how much do you want to bite? Because the bigger the bite, the more you're gonna have to chew once you get over here. And really thinking through, do you want a simple life or a complex life when you move to the Philippines? Because you could get it all over here depending on what choices you make. So I'd be so curious if you guys have any other questions about life in the Philippines, what things you are weighing. If you're someone that lives over here and you have advice for other things I haven't covered that people should consider, make sure and leave a comment below. Would love to get all of your guys' thoughts, comments, and questions. As always, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and take care.